2, 1. Hey, we're back. This is Dena, and we're really excited to have a very special guest with us. It's Steve Carbone. His blog, realitysteve.com, is your go-to spot if you love or hate, or love to hate reality TV. But beware now, Steve doesn't hold back. His blog entries often include the ugly truth about the sometimes false world of reality TV shows, and spoilers too. So welcome to the royalty of reality, the sultan of spoilers, and lately the thorn in ABC's The Bachelor's rose ceremonies, Reality Steve. Hey Steve, welcome.
Hey ladies, how you doing?
Good. This is Dena, and I'm here with my co-host Lisa.
Hey Steve.
Hi Lisa, how are you?
Doing great, thanks.
We really want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us. I would imagine that while the Bachelor and Bachelorette series are running on ABC, it's kind of like, I don't know, the month of April for an accountant or bookkeeper. You must really be crazy busy.
Yeah, it's really weird because I do watch plenty of other reality shows, and I'll admit that in the off season, when it basically is not Bachelor season, I don't write as much. And I think people that have been following me since I've written about 16 of the 18 seasons know by now that even when I say I'm going to try and keep writing, maybe I'll write once a month when it's non-Bachelor season. But when it ramps up, and starting last Monday, my life it really changes, because not only does the season start and I'm up till 3 or 4 in the morning, Monday morning, to get that column up first thing Tuesday, the whole rest of the week I'm getting emails about the show, maybe some tips here and there, what people have heard. And so, yeah, it becomes like, for 8 weeks, it becomes almost an everyday thing, even though I only write maybe once or twice a week. It definitely becomes a lot more, my life just becomes a little bit different. It's really bizarre, and it's just amazing how many fans I've connected with all throughout the United States that have such a passion for this show. And you know, I help out as much as I can, I guess.
This is Lisa. How did you begin to write your blog about TV, and why did you focus on reality TV?
I can tell you how it all started. It's a real funny story. It all started with the show Joe Millionaire. I'm sure you remember that, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's a
back in the day, it was that. Yeah. So you got to remember though, so that was back probably, I don't know the exact year, but I'm guessing Joe Millionaire was 2001 maybe, and that was at the advent of reality TV. Like that was the first like trash reality TV show, if we're gonna call it that, where it was just this so far out concept, like, oh my gosh, like this is so weird. So I saw the previews for it on Fox. I'm like, I gotta see this and just kind of check it out, because it looks so bizarre. And you know, now there's 10 shows, something like that, where they're trying to fool somebody or whatever. But essentially, I watched it, and I was just so amazed by the cattiness and the women on the show and how they acted towards each other and fighting over dresses on the first night. And so I sent an email to like 3 of my friends, and it was kind of in the same way my email is now, bullet points, a lot shorter and not as much and not as detailed. But I just started doing it every week, and little did I know my friends were forwarding it on to their friends because they thought it was funny. So by about the 5th or 6th week of Joe Millionaire, I was getting emails from people saying, hey, can I be on your Joe Millionaire email list? And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. And
do I have a
so
Joe
it just, yeah, I didn't even know. They're like, can I get this? This is so funny. And so after the Joe Millionaire show ended, I was like, well, what show's up next that I could write about? Because I'm enjoying writing and keeping people entertained. And the very next show to debut was the first season of The Bachelorette. They had just shown 2 Bachelors, which I did not watch. I'd heard about it. I knew the concept, but I didn't watch them. And so Trista's season was up next. And so I was like, well, I'll just do this, because dating is something that we've all done in our lives. And once I started watching the show, I was like, oh my God, this is so corny and cheesy that I can easily make fun of this. And so I just started with that. And then from there, it just kind of took off from there. So about after Trista's season, it went to the 3rd season of The Bachelor, which was Firestone, and then Guinea. And I think right around season 5 or 6 is when I realized I started to have a bigger following than I thought. And people were telling me, you got to get this on a website. And I started posting my column on a website. I don't even know if it's still around. It was called mediafiends.com. And I said, hey, my friends said they really think this column is funny. More people need to see it. Can I post it on your site every day or every week? And she said, sure. And then on their site, you can see which columns were getting the most reads, and mine was 10 times more than anyone else. They really took to it. And then people kept saying, well, I want to go read your past columns. And I was at that point, about probably season 5 or season 6, I said, I need to create a website that puts all my past columns on there so everyone can go back and read at any point. And so I don't really remember. My web manager would probably remember when we started the site, but I want to say the year was probably 03. And I put all my archived columns on there. And then about 06, we went to the blogger format. So, but yeah, I've been writing columns since about 01 or 02, whenever Joe Millionaire started, and I've written an episode recap for every episode of The Bachelor and Bachelorette outside of the first 2 Bachelors. So I've covered 16 of the 18 seasons. This is my 17th season.
Wow.
Yeah, you're actually a pretty big deal in the reality world and on the internet. I don't know if you realize that or not, but we certainly know who you are.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say this. I was not a big deal. I had a following that I had my loyal readers from season 3 up until Jason's season, but once I broke the news of Jason and Molly and Melissa, and I was the first person to do that, that's when national people started recognizing me, magazines started calling, I started showing up on more internet sites and being, Reality Steve is the one that has this information. We don't know if it's true, but this guy is coming out early saying, here's what happens at the end. And from that point on, so basically February of last year, almost a year now, it has become so much bigger than I ever would have imagined, and it's become a little bit different, because from season 3 till Jason, I didn't care about spoilers. I didn't care about finding out what happened beforehand. I just watched the show every Monday, didn't really follow message boards, didn't really follow blogs, and didn't really care for spoilers, and I would just make fun of the show. Well, once the Jason season came and went, everyone started coming to me for answers, and they expected me to know everything every season, so I've kind of, whether I wanted to or not, I've kind of had to stay on the ball. And sometimes it gets a little nerve-wracking, and sometimes it gets a little annoying, to be honest with you. But, it's kind of what I signed up for. The minute I broke that Jason story, I pretty much couldn't keep myself out of people's interest, because they think I know everything. I think I know more than probably 98% of the people that watch the show on a regular basis, but I don't know everything every season. I mean, we were down to the final 2 last season with Jillian, and I went on national TV and did a Skype interview with Extra TV and gave my opinion, and I was wrong. So I didn't know anything last season until the Lindsay and Bethany emails and texts came out. I didn't know anything. And I'll admit it when I don't know anything. But this season, it's funny. I didn't know anything this season until 3:00 last Monday afternoon. I had nothing. I was just set to watch the show, write my column. I knew where a couple dates were going to be. I had mentioned it, and there was going to be a Magic Mountain date and a SeaWorld date and all this, but I didn't know any spoilers. And then all of a sudden, last Monday about 3:00, my life's been kind of turned upside down, because I've gotten so much information that I put it all on my site. I didn't want to drag it out this year like I did the Jason thing. I just figured, just get it out there, and if people want to be spoiled, they can. If not, that's okay.
Okay, well, we're going to talk. We're going to try to get you to reveal your source so we can beat you to the scoop. We'll show that you'll do that. We'll talk to you later about that. But in the meantime, we brought you here. And by the way, I chose Ed from the first episode last season. So that's the only thing I've got over you here. So we called him Ed the Head because he kind of had a large head. But we ended up falling in love with Reed by the last few episodes. But today we want to focus on, of course, the Rosalind scandal of this season's Bachelor. And for our listeners who may not know, who've maybe not had their television on the past week, one of the female contestants vying for the love of the Bachelor, Jake, was asked to leave by the producers for having what's been described as an inappropriate relationship or a sexual affair. I don't know of any other kind, but that's what they were calling it, with one of the show's staff members. Now, the host, Chris Harrison, told the contestant Rosalind to pack her bags and leave, even though she'd already received a rose from Jake and was safe for the next round of competition already. He also said that the staffer had been fired. Now, after watching the scene where Rosalind was confronted with the accusation, it seems that she didn't deny it. Lisa and I have already talked about this on another part of our show today, about how we feel about the Rosalind situation. she just conceded and left and packed, even saying that she respected their decision. To me and to Lisa, it seemed obvious that she's guilty. That's the reaction of a guilty person, but you have a different take on it. Are we correct?
Yeah. The reason I've been led to believe that Rosalind acted the way she did, it was because the conversation that they were showing us, what they didn't show was an hour or 2 hours before Chris pulled her aside, she had absolutely had a temper tantrum in the house when she found out that her son was not going to be, she wasn't going to be allowed to see her son on the show. They were lying to her about seeing her son on the show, and she flipped out. So at that point, they made a determination that she was trouble, and they needed to get her off the show somehow. So what happened was Chris, who admittedly in his blog said that they got together with psychiatrists and lawyers and figured out how exactly they were going to word everything. So that conversation, he pulls Rosalind aside, and as you know, in that conversation, at no point does the word sex come out. At no point does the word sexual relationship come out. At no point does the word physical relationship come out. So he's just telling her in this ambiguous, vague language, we're going to have to let you go for some inappropriate behavior. And the whole time in her mind, she's thinking, oh my God, he got fired for giving me his phone to call my son. I can't believe this. And so from what I hear, she was just kind of over it because she had just flipped out 2 hours before. She was over the show and wanted to leave anyway. So she didn't put up a fight because she didn't care to be there anymore because they lied to her. They lied to her about her son. And basically what this producer did was, among other things, give her his phone to call her son, which she did apparently, and kind of just was favoring her in the house. Not favoring her as in terms of she was, from what I hear, it was just more or less, he definitely took an interest in her. He started falling for her, and he admitted, he came forward and said, I'm falling for this girl. I don't want to produce her anymore. I don't want to be her, quote unquote handler like they have. So yeah, I mean, sure, what it came across on television, some people, like I wrote today, I was like, yeah, some people will say, well, why didn't she defend herself? Well, because she didn't know what the hell Chris was talking about. That's why she didn't defend herself. She thought he was talking about something completely different than what they showed on television. And, they've both gone to the media. She's spoken with ET and Insider, and Chris has spoken with ET and Insider. And Chris is saying, it's very curious why now Chris is all of a sudden saying it's a physical relationship when back then, why didn't when he pull her aside, he just say, Rosalind, come on, you can't hook up with cameramen, you can't be having sex with these people, you got to go. But he made it so vague and so ambiguous to where at the time when they did do it, they hadn't had their storyline yet. They were just like, okay, let's just say this and we'll think about it later. But she needs to go, and that's the story in a nutshell. And like I said, people will believe what they want to believe. People will believe Rosalind. People will believe Chris. The way it's going on email right now and message boards, yeah, there's probably more people that don't believe Rosalind and are believing Chris. But I know what I know, and I know that my source is 100% accurate, and I have every reason to believe that not only this, but just the track, just take into account the track record on the show. I mean, it is what it is. This show is it's a television show. They're looking to draw viewers in by ratings and drama. For 2 weeks, all they did was hype up this sexual affair with Rosalind, yet they never mentioned the word sex once in the episode. And she did this, such a dastardly thing, and it was so bad, and it was so blatant in front of everybody, yet and they're talking about how embarrassed they were about this incident. Well, if they were so embarrassed by it, why did they air it? And if it did happen, how do they not have any audio footage or any video footage of this happening? Don't you think they would want to show proof that they had this girl hooking up with this cameraman? It's because they didn't. They have no proof. They're just creating a story. And, it's, like I said, people are going to believe what they want to believe, and that's fine. I'm not going to convince anybody otherwise if you already have. But, the one thing I am working on is I am trying to get Rosalind to do an interview. And if she does, I think it'll be a little bit more, it's obviously, if she talks to me, it's a heck of a lot different for her to sit down and answer all the questions that everybody wants to know. Why didn't you defend yourself? All that stuff. As opposed to going on ET and Insider where it's spliced up answers. They're still editing her, and they're only going to show what they want to show, as opposed to just doing an interview with me like I'm doing